if we're going to go off of age and how effective you are, he could be as effective as, like Tom Brady was at the end of his career. Still a legitimate threat. Teams fear him still.
Joining us now is a great friend of the show, Alex Inbornone. Alex, what's going on, man?
Hi, Nick. How you doing?
All right, so let's talk some basketball here. SGA gets a 4-year, $285 million supermax deal. Explain how
Yeah.
much not only he means to the Thunder, but how much of a star he's become in this league.
Well, obviously, he's earned it after winning MVP, Finals MVP, winning a final. That it just kind of comes with all those awards. You get a big payday like this. This is finally, I think, a player that the Thunder are going to be able to keep for the long term. I know they had their issues with trying to keep Paul George there for the long term, Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook. But for the Thunder and the Thunder organization, the fans, the city, they know that, SGA, he's the truth. And, whether you like the salary or not, I think it's well earned. He's deserved it. And, the sky's the limit for that team.
Yeah, I mean, he is surely incredible, one of the best players in the NBA.
Yeah.
His breakout season was kind of this season, but he finally gets his payday, of course, after a incredible run, which leads to an NBA Finals. So now moving on, we're going to go and talk about the KD trade, the 7-team trade. This was something that we kind of heard a lot. Sure, he might go to the Heat, he might go to these other teams, but he ends up landing with the Rockets. So what does this mean for the Rockets immediately? Does it make them a championship contender?
Yeah, I think it moves them quickly up into the top four of the West, just with names. I mean, you've got Kevin Durant, Fred VanVleet, Jabari Smith. They bring in Clint Capella this offseason via a signing. They've got a really good young core still. And, it's Kevin Durant. I feel like he's going to be averaging 24, 25 points a game till he decides to call it quits. That's just how effective of a scorer he is. I still think the Thunder are the top dogs in the West. I think the Rockets will still have to navigate through some tough waters in the West just because it's the West. But, Kevin Durant, he makes any team better. Obviously, didn't really work out with the Suns. But I feel like this is a team he wants to be with. He's the number one guy again there. And, it should be an exciting year. I think if they can win 60 games or more, that's really good. And it's obviously conference finals or bust for Kevin Durant.
And yeah, I mean, we're talking about Kevin Durant, we're talking about the age, but he's still one of those players that immediately makes your team
Timeless.
One of those teams. Exactly, a timeless player, an elite factor on your team. Speak to how great he is still with his age.
Oh, I mean, he's kind of, if we're going to go off of age and how effective you are, he could be as effective as, like Tom Brady was at the end of his career. Still a legitimate threat. Teams fear him still. Obviously, he's had a couple injuries here and there, but he's bounced back better and better every time. I think he'll have a small scoring dip this year, and that's no knock on the age. I think it's just because of the amount of scores that are on that team already. But I think with him, like I said earlier, he could be averaging 25 points a game into his 40s. I don't think he's going to retire for at least another 5 years.
Yeah, and I mean, he's one of those guys that will immediately put you in the conversation for a title like we were talking about. But so switching gears to the team that he came from, Devin Booker gets a 2-year, $145 million extension, which is one of the highest extensions to date. So kind of speak on what his role becomes as Kevin Durant leaves the Suns, and what do you expect from them this year?
Yeah, I don't know. It's really weird because they obviously brought Jalen Green in from that Durant trade. They want to keep him, but I've got no clue what the Suns want to do with their team this year. Devin Booker is a top, 15, top 20 player in the league, and he's a great locker room guy. He's someone that wants to stay with the team that drafted him, it sounds like. But I don't know. I couldn't tell you the direction the Suns are going in because they couldn't get the job done with him, Bradley Beal, or Kevin Durant. So it just makes you kind of wonder what everything looks like. The roster is obviously a little more defunct than fans are probably hoping for. But an extension like this keeps him there for at least another 2 years, maybe for the long term. But yeah, $150 million is, whew, that is a lot, especially for a situation you don't really know where you're going with. You don't know if the organization is going to win 25 games or win 55 games this year. They're kind of in an odd spot right now.
Yeah, the 2-year deal is pretty interesting to me. Just the lack of long-term commitment, I guess you could say. So it's interesting to look at that one. But so moving on to the draft that happened just a few weeks ago, Cooper Flagg was the unanimous number one. We knew this was going to happen before the draft. As soon as the lottery ball was picked for the Mavericks, we knew that was going to be their pick. But explain how Cooper Flagg is a game changer, even as a freshman or a rookie for the Mavericks, and what he brings to that team immediately.
Well, he makes things pretty interesting because they got no Kyrie this year. So there's more opportunities for him to be that facilitator. They obviously bring D'Angelo Russell in, but for Cooper Flagg, he played his first summer league game last night against the Lakers, or from whenever we're taping. So July 10th he played. Obviously, had his first professional basketball game. It was jitters. Took 21 shots, missed 16 of them. It happens to the best of them, obviously. But I think he will obviously be a huge, huge name in the league from the tip. Anthony Davis will have help with him. They have a really good core in Dallas. I could obviously see him averaging at least 18 points. I don't know if there's an all-star game this year, but there are a couple of guys who are dark horse candidates for Rookie of the Year, but all signs are pointing towards him being the guy and being Rookie of the Year for the Mavs.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see that relationship between Anthony Davis and him, and maybe he can pick up a thing or two from Anthony Davis as he's the vet on that team now. No Kyrie is going to hurt, but so switching gears here, we'll talk about Giannis, dipping back into some of the drama of the trades and all of that. So he tweets the other day, "I love Milwaukee," and Windhorst believes to think that is him saying, "I'm not leaving Milwaukee." But what is going on behind the scenes where this even happened? How did this come up that Giannis was going to get traded? And what do you think is actually going to happen here?
I mean, I don't even think, to be honest, Milwaukee really knows. It's a really interesting spot because Giannis is going to make any team great. He is that good. Even with the limited resources he had around him this year, they still made the playoffs, still made a really good run. The only really thing I remember reading big was maybe a deal to San Antonio, but if it was going to happen, it would have happened on draft night. We really haven't seen much yet. I think he's another one like Devin Booker who wants to stay in the city that drafted him. I love players that are all about loyalty, to the team that drafted them. Obviously, I could see him being there for another 10 years. That's just, the type of player he is, I think. I hope he is. But, with them waiving Damian Lillard, that kind of ruffled some feathers, and I know he looked to be upset according to his social media. But who knows? Today, we're in mid-July. They traded Damian Lillard in September a couple years ago to get him to Milwaukee. Who knows? We could see something that close to the season happen. But right now, I think he's still a Buck.
Yeah, I agree. I would have trouble seeing Giannis on another team. But you never know. A lot of the stuff in the NBA just kind of happens out of nowhere.
The only trade that I could see now are the Knicks. That's all.
The Knicks, yeah, and it'd have to be a blockbuster. That's what Giannis is worth.
Yeah, the Knicks.
It would have to be a team
have
cleaner.
The resources. Yeah, the Knicks have the resources to make it happen. So if that's where he goes, then buckle up.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, great friend of the show, Alex Inbornone. Alex, thanks for joining us, buddy.
Thank you, Nick.